seen Jesus lately? What does he look like? I see Jesus all the time. He looks like what we just read in the gospel. He looks like a little girl who has no clothes on. He looks like a little boy who said, "Mister, you got any water in that jug you gave me? I haven't had a drink for 3 days." That's what Jesus looks like. He looks like that child who has not eaten for a day, or 2, or 3, or 4. Sometimes children go that long with no food. They have to have water. You can't survive if you don't have water. But if you see the waters that many of the children are drinking, it's basically a mixture of mud and clay. Can you imagine mother, grandmother, great-grandmother? If any of your grandchildren couldn't have food for 4 days, and there's no place to get food, that's incomprehensible to us. We just haven't had that experience. I find one of the most difficult things to do is communicate to an American audience, an American congregation, what destitution is about. Because if you haven't experienced it, you don't understand it. At least that was the case with me. I've carried bodies to helicopters. Didn't know if they were alive or dead. And thought that was the worst experience of my life. That's living hell. But I was wrong. Much more unsettling to walk a garbage dump in Guatemala or in Haiti or in Nicaragua, along with a few children that are emaciated and old ladies trying to find food for their grandkids. People by the thousands scavenging in garbage dumps. On an average day in Guatemala City, the main city dump, they have about 3,500 people on the dump looking for food. Many are children. But I understand why, the question I used to have when I was younger, why didn't my uncles ever talk about Normandy? They were there, some of them. And I'd say, "Uncle Freddie, what was it like at Omaha Beach?" "Oh, bad." "Can you say more?" They didn't want to talk about it. I understand why. Because the people that ask the question, I can't explain it. And I don't argue about it. You haven't been there. You've got the same thing with people from Afghanistan, from Vietnam, from Korea. You see, there are some experiences you have to have them. I try everything I can to communicate what destitution is. I use movies, DVDs, tell stories. And yet, it's still hard to communicate it until I've been there. There are some experiences, to really understand it, you have to have it. I'm sure there are no men here that have made the catastrophic mistake of saying to their young wife at a certain time that she's had a horribly long and painful delivery. "You know, sweetheart, I know how you feel. You better run quick, because that might give us a slap in the face." You might say empathetically, "You must have felt badly or poorly," but don't say, "I know how you feel." But there are experiences of life that are worse than what we might think are worse. What does a mother do, and what does a grandmother do in Haiti when there's no food? That's sort of incomprehensible. You just go to the freezer, kids go to the freezer. Go get a sandwich, you might say, "I don't want food, I don't like it." What do you do when you had no food for your kids and grandkids for days? What the women in Haiti do is they get out of the riverbank and scoop up some little mud and clay about that big in diameter, and they put it out in the sun to dry. And then when a child is screaming with hunger pains, and I've been told, I've never experienced it, but I've been told that hunger pains are indescribable. The whole body, dehydrated at the same time, is just yearning for nourishment and screaming loud pain. What the mothers do is they take those little cookies and break off a little piece like this. Put a little Kool-Aid on it, put a little sugar on it, and give that to the child. It does work for a short period of time. It takes away the pain. Because two things, there's something simply in the stomach. Certain kinds of bark on a tree will do the same thing. But this will take the hunger away, because it's also heavy in calcium. Same basic ingredients for towns and rolaids and antacids. But there's something else that's in this little cookie. You don't see it, but it's there. It's called bacteria. You pick up one where they got that one cookie, bacteria. We explained to the young women, do not use these. It's poison. It'll make your children sick. They get diarrhea. They get dysentery until they die. Don't use these. We'll get you food. And try everything we can to get them food. But now here we got into another problem. How do you explain what a bacteria is to a woman who's illiterate? We get to understand. They don't understand what we're talking about. Illiterate, bacteria in the body, sick. More often than that, they'll run out to the voodoo witch doctor. They'll kill a couple of chickens and have incantations that's supposed to solve the problem. Illiteracy. Lack of knowledge. And that's why, rather quickly in the history of Food for the Poor, which is 33 years old only, started by a group of devout Christian laity. It's a whole other dynamic. They really communicate and re-communicate to the people of God. The church are the people of God. You are the church. You are the backbone, the skull, everything in the church. Not the clergy. The church is not professional clergy who simply utilize people. One of the things Martin Luther gave to us so loud and clear is that it's the gospel of Jesus Christ to Hans and Greta and the people in the pew. They are the church. I like to use an illustration more that we, the clergy, are more like quarterbacks. We're out in the field, maybe call some plays, but we're with the team. Quarterbacks don't win football games. The team does, or lose them. The quarterback is subject to getting hit like everybody else, getting sacked, breaking bones. We're all together in this. The people of God. One of the great gifts of the Reformation. Two things I'd like to share with you about Food for the Poor. You're not just not writing that, huh? What's that? Oh, yeah. That's my timekeeper. That's done. That's what we're done. Okay. I'm going to show some pictures there, okay? Two things that I want to share with you. What is it that Food for the Poor does, and how do we do it? What we do is we provide resources to existing ministries. One of the great tragedies of our age is we have many wonderful missionaries. My brother Paul was a missionary in Africa for 40-some years, in Nigeria, in Ethiopia, and then in Kenya. His wife comes from Alexandria. Her father was district president of the Minnesota district years ago. And when these two youngsters graduated from the seminary in St. Louis, they were filled with the love of Christ to tell people about Jesus. In 6 months in Africa, they were frustrated. My brother says, I have no resources. I can't get from point A to point B. I want to visit 50 places every year to establish ministries. But the only way I have for mobilization is walking. And some of his brothers back here in St. Paul, there are 5 of us, were clergy. We went to some garbage dumps, got some old frames, got some wheels, got some tires. We made them from bikes. And that suddenly gave him some mobility. But a great mission organization of our church and our synod, in my opinion, the greatest mission organization ever, the Lutheran Women's Missionary League, LWML, they heard his plea, and they were able to buy him a used VW bus in Germany, which quadrupled his ministry. Resources are so important. Some of us come from a little bit of a military background. We understand how important it is to have the supply line. You can't tell a group of Marines, take the hill, but guys, we have no ammunition, we have no weapons, we have no tools. Use your ingenuity. See what you can do. That's suicide. We can't tell the 6th Fleet in the Mediterranean, go out to patrol the seas, but we have no gas for you. See, they got a lot of that over there, so we can talk about something. We give great educations, but once we turn the missionaries loose, they have to come for themselves. Even in today's world, this isn't just Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, it's the Presbyterians, it's the Roman Catholics, the Episcopalians. We all have the same problem. We have our bureaucracies here in this country, but before a missionary goes to the field, the missionary has to raise his own money. Makes no sense at all. It's like saying, even to our military, you guys want to go and fight, good luck. But raise your own equipment, raise your own money. We are all together doing this together as the people of God, in everything we do. And even approaching such a thing as world destitution and poverty, we're approaching that together. What we do is provide resources to those existing ministries. We are not a ministry per se in the sense, although we are in proclaiming the gospel. We provide resources, and we have moved from feeding, not away from, but expanded tremendously. We still feed over 1,300,000 people every day in 18 countries in Central America and the Caribbean. Just worry about that. These are the last places we've started doing mission work. They're our neighbors. And yet a place like Haiti, many would arguably say, the poorest place on the planet. Some years ago, before Mother Teresa died, she went to Haiti and she said, "I'm aghast. I've never seen conditions as bad in Bangladesh or in Calcutta or any place in the world. People dying in the streets." First time I went to Haiti, I was absolutely blown away, shocked, as the kids would say. When I was watching a group of preteen children playing soccer on the street in the muddy old dirt roads. They didn't have a soccer ball, they were kicking around an old stuffed animal in the garbage dump. But what caught my attention, these were kids, 10, 11, 12 years old, boys and girls, many had no clothes on, including girls. Can you imagine one of your grandgirls going out 12 years old and she has no clothes on? I said, why don't these kids have clothes on? Said they have no way of getting them. Some of their moms and dads don't have any. They might have this rags they got in the garbage dump. And we can multiply that observation many times over. And we began to realize it doesn't do good just to give people a meal. You can save them for a day or two, give them a meal every day. What they need is employment. What they need is opportunity to take care of themselves. And we began to support schools. Find out that what is so important is get these kids, when they're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and they got to go to school. And to this day, we support a little less than 1,000 schools. Every one of them is a Christian school. And every one has a cross of Jesus Christ, or the classrooms, or the schools. Are not old. We support those that have at the center of their ministry Jesus Christ. We are ecumenical, in the sense that we work together with Roman Catholics, Lutherans, all kinds, Presbyterians, Episcopalian, Methodists. One thing important about those 5 churches I just mentioned, we are all historic churches, and we all have a concept of sacramental theology. Baptism is important to us all. So is the Lord's Supper, the body and blood of Christ. We do not work with individual television evangelists. We don't work with individual ministries. And the reason for that is because of accountability. We are very keen on accountability. Even though I'm retired now 15 years from parish ministry, I'm still accountable as district president of the Minnesota South District. I'm accountable as South president for what I say and do in the Missouri Synod Lutheran Church. Those are the only churches in which I preach. Roman Catholic priests preach in Catholic churches. Episcopalians preach in Episcopalians. We pull our resources. In the world of mission work, in this world, we have to work together with other fellow citizens of the body of Christ. After the earthquake in Haiti, it was really phenomenally refreshing to work together in that great crisis. Thousands of people lost, killed. When we're rebuilding new houses on one side of the street, Habitat's across the street, Billy Graham's down the street. We're using their lumber, they're using our trucks, we're working together. The U.S. Navy's got a hospital ship out of port. We're working together in a crisis to help human beings preserve and enrich their lives. We work together with one another, and we certainly work together in building the schools that uphold Jesus Christ. None of the nonsense about can you pray or can't you pray. We all pray with our children in our schools, the little 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, standing in front of us with their beautiful, nice little uniforms on, singing Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. That's a beautiful sight to see, but it costs me tears. Because I would never read or say this to any of them, but I know when I see 70 kids up there singing from one class, about half of you kids have no chance. We're going to give you everything we can, but the world in which you're going is very, very challenging. And somebody will make it, and somebody will end up like mom and dad are right now. But yet if we save one person, people often ask what I call American questions. And we're making progress. We're making the same progress that Jesus made. He worked with one person at a time. If we could save one life, we don't think about the 20 we did. We save one life or 2 lives. And I can give you now many stories because we're 33 years old. The people that are doctors, the people that are brilliant in their careers, the people that, in fact, I was in a young woman's home one day. She was making lunch for us. She was a physician. She was a doctor. She was a young lady that we had picked up in the streets when she was young and paid all the way through medical school. She was experimenting. Her laboratory was a little part of the kitchen. She had about 4 children. She had 2 rooms for bedrooms. And her name was Louise Marie. She was with us for a week. One of our speakers got ill, and she took her to the hospital. We found out she's one of the top doctors in Nicaragua. I was reading the papers about 6 weeks ago about a medical conference in New York at the United Nations, and the paper was being delivered by Dr. Louise Marie on nutrition. I said, I know that one. I had lunch with her one day. It's amazing. You see, is that success? One of the things we have to realize, Jesus Christ did not come into this world to reform Rome or to straighten out Jerusalem. He came to talk to the widow of Nain, whose son had just died. He came to deal with Lazarus, with Nicodemus, with Zacchaeus up the tree. One person who responds to the gospel at a time. What is it that we do? We provide resources. I've mentioned schools. There are many areas that I don't have time to get into. But if you will take your little brochure, we'll just open that up a little bit. No, don't open it up. Just take it, it was in your bulletin this morning. Take a look at the picture on the front side here. Take that picture. Picture a little girl. She's starving to death. Her hair is getting ashen. A girl of that age should have pitch black, healthy, gleaming hair. That's a sign of a lack of protein. That dress is just hanging on a skeleton. Flesh and bones, but not much flesh. But what's really important is look into that little girl's eyes. You know, when you go to have a physical, the doctor sometimes looks in your eyes. It's amazing what a doctor can tell by looking in your eyes about your general health. This little girl, you look in her eyes, it's just a blank stare. A little girl like that, a little child, should be laughing, should be smiling. Like our grandkids, they should be driving us up the wall with their exuberant energy. A healthy child. But this is a girl that has no heart. That's what she's communicating with those eyes. It's not joy, it's not sorrow, it's nothing. It's just blank. We see so many children laughing. And they have no support. Because they've been beaten down all day. You want to take a child like this around, how old is sweetheart? Sometimes they might be younger than this. We give them a chance. Now, if you open this up, and I can rattle off some things real quickly. Things that we have done to help people help themselves. We started building a topic one once in Guatemala to see if that works. And we find out that we can fund one good orphanage of 75 kids with one tilapia pond. We now have over 350 tilapia ponds that gives each pond provides employment for 35 to 50 people. And it's a phenomenal enterprise of helping people develop their own ability to survive. Tilapia ponds. Caribbean island people are fishermen by nature. But you should see some of the boats, particularly those around Cuba that have been destroyed by the communist regime of Cuba. They have old wooden boats. A lot of creativity in Cuba. We don't go there right now yet. We're trying to eventually we will be like that. But they have the old wooden boats. I wouldn't go into a pond, many of them don't sink. There's no water about it. We provide them with the boats. We give one boat to 5 fishermen. The fisherman who shows the greatest skill becomes the captain. A village is 5 boats. That's 5 boats and 5 fishermen and 25 fishermen. 25 families. We build about 35 houses, 35 to 50 houses in every village. We now have over 200 fishing villages. We found out how they can provide education, they can provide jobs, and they provide self-reliance for the people. We provide hospitals and clinics and communities. We build them. We have many volunteer groups come. You're welcome to come anytime you can. Come and spend 2 weeks. People say, what can I do? You might want to spend a whole day ladies walking children in an orphanage. I stayed one night with a doctor. He was an eminent heart surgeon at the University of Michigan. And he said, I'd like to go on a medical trip, but there's nothing I can do, really. I'm sure you don't do heart transplants in Haiti. And I said, Doc, let me ask you this. Can you still remember how to do blood pressure? And he said, sure. We can use you. Regardless of your skill level, we can use you. Been about 10 years now that he takes 2 weeks every year, many of his colleagues, and goes on a mission trip with us. And he himself, with his friends at the University of Michigan, have built a clinic. At the second service, my sister-in-law will be coming to visit with me. She's here. My brother, professor at the seminary, died about 10 years ago. She's still here. She was born and raised in India. My younger brother is also a physician. And they have, in that family, they themselves have funded a little clinic in South India, just from their friends, particularly some of the people from July. It's amazing what people can do if you think about what can you do with one little girl. One little girl is a doctor lecturing to the United Nations. This is what we do. We provide resources to existing ministries. We work close with the missionaries. But the second thing is, how do we do what we do? You read about scams. You read about people giving money doesn't get to the people. And that is one of our great concerns. There are some great ministries. There are some that are not. How do you guarantee it? We realize that many, many kinds of efforts of people are well-meaning, but they never get to the people. And the number one reason for that has to do with one of the basic bottom reasons of destitution. I've been using the word destitution, not poverty. Big difference between poverty and destitution. We got a lot of poverty in America. It's growing, by the way. It's growing in America. We have zero destitution in America. What's the difference between poverty and destitution? Poverty is when you have nothing. But there's always a place to go. We have many safety nets. Unemployment insurance, workman's comp, pension programs, welfare programs. Nobody in America need die at nighttime of starvation and have them picked up by the garbage trucks in the morning. There's always a place to go. We have so many safety nets. Destitution is when you have no safety nets. You have nothing. Your family has nothing. Your church has nothing. Your community has nothing. Your government, if they have it, they wouldn't give it to you anyway, because it goes to their own cronies. At the bottom of world destitution, basically it presents a dilemma that is absolutely inconceivable, and that food is not the problem. It's not a shortage of food, not a shortage of resources. There's enough food, and we can grow enough food to feed every human being on this planet, and their dogs, and their cats, and their rabbits and their pets and their birds, feed them all into obesity. So what is the number one basic reason for destitution? Corruption in government. Corruption in the government. It's not just in Port-au-Prince or Guatemala City. It's in Washington, D.C. Down the road here in St. Paul, in Tallahassee, in Springfield. You see, wherever there is power and money, money and power and money, people will kill for it. People go to war for it. That's what they do. I want to win. And it's the basic story of the Tower of Babel. I want to be God. I want to be powerful. I want to be better than others. I want to build this tower to myself. And that's at the root of wars. It's the root of destitution. And it's in that world that God himself says to his Son, the Father says to his Son, go and show the world the meaning of love, the meaning of compassion. And he came, and he taught at the Beatitudes, blessed are the meek, blessed are the poor, for they shall know God. And he came with a beautiful message. And then before he went to the cross, he took his disciples, met with Elijah, Moses on the Mount of Transfiguration. He showed them the glory of God. And the disciples said, you know, this is so beautiful. Let's just stay up. We're going on vacation. You say, I want this beautiful lake or mountain. I just like to stay here. And Jesus says, no. I gave you a little glimpse of the glory yet to come. But we have to go back in the valley. You've got to go back into that valley. And so often as best Jesus himself says to himself, I have to go back in the valley. And what do I have to face in that valley? Well, you're going to face persecution and rejection. You're going to face the evil of human beings. You're going to be in the middle of wars and rumors of wars and destitution. But I'm going to be there too. I got to go back in the valley. Because someplace outside of home, there's a cross waiting for me. There's a cross in Jerusalem, not Rome. And that is the same message to us. We do live in a world of sin. The word corruption is too mild. It's the existence of sin and evil. And yet we live in a town that says there is no such thing as good and evil. There is no such thing as sin. If you believe that, you've got to come back to reality. We live in a world of corruption. We live in a world of evil and sin. In the midst of that, Jesus says to you and to me, you are my witnesses. Go into the world and tell people about that love. Even our own Son of God, our Savior, gave his life for us. And that is why the method that we use for the distribution of those are Christian missionaries. We don't give a dime through any government. We don't work for any governments. We also don't pay any duty, any tariffs, any money to any governments. I can't go to the country, but you're interested in that at all. That the governments do just the opposite. They plead with us, come and help us. What you can do. Some of the things that we do is to lift up the people and lift up the country itself. We work for Christian missionaries. We work for people like my brother, who's not going to work. But if I give my brother Paul $2,000, he's spent it in stretch of $3,000. Out in El Salvador in June, past June. I went to a little orphanage run by a nun. She probably didn't weigh 100 pounds. Little nun. She had 75 girls. And one day when I went there, she had 2 girls in her lap, 2 little girls. She was fixing the hem of their little school uniform. That little nun had a policy. She wanted girls to sit in her lap every day. In the course of a week, she wanted all 75 girls to at least have some private time with her. She would comb their hair and braid their hair, sing, pray with the girl, look like a grandma, like a grandma did. She said to me, she said, would you be so kind as to go to my closet and get my sewing basket? I need a new kind of thread and needle. So I went into her closet. I wasn't snooping. She asked me to get it. And I stood there and looked. That little lady, she had 5 wash dresses hanging there. Some flip-flops in the corner, and that's all she had. That's all If I would say to her sister, I'm going to give you $500 today, go buy something for yourself. She wouldn't spend a penny. Every dime we go to girls. And no joking. If she wanted to look a little, get a little pretty, she'd pick some flowers and put them there. She'd make them. Those are the kinds of people we work with. If I give her $2,000, she'd pick that up. We don't work with people who are doing it for profit. Many of us are volunteers. People like myself with 95 clergy going around talking to churches. What's important to understand is that our bottom line, already 5-6 years ago, went over $1 billion. It would be $1 billion. We're at about $1.2 billion right now. But our operating costs, our operating expense for last year, on over $1 billion was 3.8%. Nobody comes close to that, certainly not the churches. 3.8% over $1 billion. That's why Better Business Bureau raises is the #1 Christian company philanthropy in America. We do it because we reach out with the cross of Jesus Christ to people, not to make money. If you are able to give us a gift, as some of you have done in the past, I'm not the first speaker that's been here. What you can do with this little brochure is open it up. There's so much on that brochure I can't go into it, but I know you can read. There's a yellow line, you rip it like that, and I made an envelope. Now what a miracle that is. I can take a piece of paper right in. And in that envelope, there's a little place to put money. And you can easily fold over a couple $100 bill, but it's fine. I know you don't carry that much money. I don't carry that much money anymore. Yeah. Don't want it. But there are people that do. The houses that we built over 800,000 of these little Caribbean houses. They cost $3,200. But in the country of Honduras and Nicaragua right now, the government is so supportive of us that for every house we build, they will match another house. Except Honduras will build a good place. So for one $3,200 donation, as many congregations can do, as many groups in the church can do, we build 4 $3,200 houses. It really would be worth $10,000. But not everybody can build a house. A water well costs about $100, $125. And we can build a couple of those and have a community of 1,000 people. Fishing boats, fishing motors. We do farming. There aren't many stories we can tell you. There's a couple of ladies, 5 widows on the garbage dump. Church where I was a pastor some years ago had an extra $5,000. I went to the president of the Guatemala church and said to him, good friend, he's a Mayan Indian. And I said, Ignacio, I got $5,000. Can you do that? I know exactly. There are 5 widows on the garbage dump. Don't even know what garbage dump. Bottom line, we built some pens and we got some pigs. Because somebody said, you know, I build pigs. I know nothing about pigs, but some years ago, they built about 50 pens, piglets. They now have 4 pig farms. First promise, they bought turkeys, they bought chickens, they employ over 150 people. 5 widows, women. The one that I met the first time looked like she was 93 years old. 5 years later, I met her and had lunch with her. She looked like she was 50 years old. It's amazing what's able to happen when you have an opportunity, when you have a vision and a dream and you're living to save that life. At the end of the service, I'll stand back there and you can give me an envelope you like. But if you can't, I understand that too. I make it real easy. You can put a check in here too. Take a check, make it out to the poor. All you do is sign the bottom right-hand corner of the check. I'll fill it all the way. A couple of boats, a couple of farms, a couple of pigs. Or you can use a credit card. That's my favorite way. Because you can borrow one or something. You can have a credit card. You can blow them off. All we need is a couple of numbers. You know, I'm a little facetious about it because I don't like to talk about money. I never did. I never liked stewardship Sundays. Because people that God will give, you can't get out of it. They want to give, they give, they don't, they don't. Pretty much it works that way. But I have changed my mind. When I see people like this, see little Lester, he was talking to garbage dump. We find kids in garbage dump, he was thrown away. You don't know why, there's a reason why. Not because they don't have kids. Sometimes they might even be born with birth defects, and an illiterate person looks at them and says, I can't raise a child. And it's more of an act of mercy than anything, as they understand it. That's illiteracy. That's why we're building schools and supporting schools, to get the kids into school. Like they say, some of them on cruises, they go on vacations, and they come back and like, well, I see little beggar children, I gave them these dollars, and they save your dollars. Collect the dollars and put the little beggar kids in school. Because they're going to be like your grandkids. Don't make fun of them. They're trying the best they can do. This is little Lester. You take him to the hospital, they turn him down and say, get him out of here. We see 5, 6 of these every night. We haven't got the resources to help him. He came to one of our Christian orphanages that has a dietetic center. Most of our Christian orphanages have a dietetic center. People work with him for 10 months. Now, you can't put this kid in front of food. Give him food that'll kill him. Because all the internal parts, kidneys, livers, are all dehydrated. You've got to use IVs. You've got to use eye droppers. 10 months later, this is what the Lester was. Is he worth saving? We think every human being is worth saving. And every human being is a child of God. And every human being is part of my family. The family of God's people. Here are 2 girls. In a daze, looking for mom and dad after the earthquake in Haiti. We cleaned them up, put them in one of our schools. And this is the way they looked some months later. Both of these girls want to run a medical profession. And they both are intellectually gifted. And they will do that. We'll pay for their education. Anybody that's serious in the third world countries, so sure, we'll pay them all the way through a PhD or a medical degree. Whatever you can do. P.T. Niles, a great missionary to India, once was asked, what does it mean to be a disciple of Christ? And this was his answer. To be a disciple of Christ is one beggar showing another beggar where to find a piece of bread. And that people can help. People in America, particularly, to understand not only our wealth, which is phenomenal, compared to the world's religion, income. If anybody, the United Nations did a study, if anybody is making $25,000 on the world economy, on the world, not the U.S. economy, world economy, $25,000, you're going to have 5% of the wealth of the world. If anybody has an income of $50,000, we are on the upper 1% of the wealth of the world. You understand that a $20 gift, for one $20 gift, you can feed over 400 kids. Because one basic meal of beans and rice costs us 5.1 cents. And a $20 bill, which is nothing when you go to a place like Best Buy and buy electronic stuff for your grandkids. Sometimes our grandkids don't understand what money's all about anyway. $20, $30, you can feed hundreds of people. With $27, you can feed a child for a whole month. Amazing what money can do. Guy gave me a brochure once. Little boy, he met at the door. There was 37 cents in there. And he said, this is the best I can do. If you need more, well, let me know. I might get some more. That 37 cents to me was like $1 million. As a little boy, his heart had come alive. Thank you, good people, for letting me share a message. It's amazing what miracles God has in store. When I was, whatever it would have been, 12 years old, coming in from chapel. I haven't been back here since. You know that when you're 80 years old, you'll be coming and talking to the same people. You know, even at 12, that's what it would be. You need to share a message with the people of God. That's a miracle. And you are all miracles. If you can help, we bless you. You can be blessed too. Like to reach you all over the world. God's peace be with you. Sometimes I preach a little longer. Jim Bailey and I are good friends. We know Jim Bailey. Well, Jim, I preach a little longer than you do because that makes you look so good.
Please let us rise.